Culture wars, one of the big culture wars has been between the old-style royals, well, essentially the Queen, really, and grandson Harry and his wife Meghan, who want to take their bit of the royals semi-private. They make some fast money from the brand. Well, today the Queen, according to the Daily Mail, has put a foot down with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and banned their plans to use the Sussex Royal trademark to sell everything from hoodies to books. And that's after the couple, now living in Canada, spent a fortune on their Sussex Royal website announcing all their grand plans. Joining me on Culture Wars, as always, is Rowan Dean, author, editor of The Spectator Australia and presenter of Outsiders on Sunday mornings. Rowan, fabulous ratings on Sunday. We should advertise that. Absolutely splendid. I don't think Harry and Meghan thought this through. They ambushed the Queen with their plans, obviously to force her hand. But if the Daily Mail's right, she gets the last laugh.
She absolutely does, and the Palace have played this exceptionally well, Andrew. Basically, if you look at what Harry and Meghan did as a kind of metaphor for the millennial woke generation, it's a pretty apt one. They thought they could have it all at no cost to themselves, virtue signalling their way in a lifestyle of abundant wealth and fame and glamour, and let other people bear the consequences while they jetted around. And it's all coming unstuck bit by bit, because the fundamental mistake they made is they didn't understand that the institution... You would have thought Harry would have understood it, but he doesn't understand the institution that his family is a part of, and that is, of course, the royal family is there to protect the Constitution on behalf of the British taxpayers and Australian, indirectly Australian, Canadian taxpayers and so on. But they thought they could have it all, and the Queen has handled it very well. She started off saying, well, you're going to have to lose the HRH. Well, the HRH is what, of course, all the lovies all around the world, the George Clooneys and the Clintons and all this, they would desperately love to be an HRH themselves. Nothing would please them more. So they loved that about Meghan and Harry. That's gone. The Queen at the time said, oh, they can hang on to the Sussex Royal thing. We discussed this on the show, and I was very, very disappointed that the Queen said, oh, they can hang on to their Sussex Royal thing, because this was a blatant attempt, to make a brand capitalising off the monarchy. Make a lot of, more than a buck, make millions, potentially billions, trading off the British monarchy. And this was just...
While living in Canada.
While living in Canada, an absolute obscenity. Now, the Queen has just gradually peeled back layer after layer, and basically Harry and Meghan can change their name to Kafoops, as far as I'm concerned. They will be the, you know, they can change their website. It can be Kafoops Commoner, at kafoopscommoner.com or whatever, because that's what basically where they will end up. And good on the Queen for, even at this stage, realising how critical it is that the royals stick to the core job of protecting the monarchy and the Constitution, rather than going off on this woke, virtue signalling, fame, celebrity, Davos man type frolic that these two characters have been involved in.
It's very hardcore action by her. I think it's rather gutsy. But what else? What option did she have? I mean, you can't go, you know, privatising the royals and turning into a cash cow. I mean, really, what would? But this is the thing, you know. When I say culture wars, I really do think that this represents a sort of a cultural wave. It's not just two rogue people doing this, because there's been so much support for Harry and Meghan doing what, on the face of it, is greedy, opportunistic and a blow to the royals. And so many people said, yeah, go for it.
But note, the British public didn't. The British public were absolutely horrified. I forget the polls that came out at the time, 70, 80, 90% of people saying, no, 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 this is completely wrong. The Queen, interestingly enough, at the time said, and I sort of raised an eyebrow at this, she said, oh, I didn't want to strip them of their Sussex Royal names and branding, because I didn't want to be uncaring in the way I was seen to be uncaring about Diana. So this was this idea. But there was never really a genuine comparison there. I think she was just buying time till the headlines settled down, and now, boof, off comes the next
I think that's right. And I think she also didn't want to completely humiliate them all at once. So drip, drip, drip.
Yes.
Yeah, all in the one day. And furthermore, that's the way I'd probably do it. And furthermore, and one more thing.
Yes, exactly.
Something that's a few weeks old, but I overlooked it, Rowan, but it's just too good, and I want to run this past you. It's a questionnaire from the University of California, Santa Cruz, for students, a student survey. Voluntary, but it's to students, and it says, you know, anonymous, will stick it all in the database of the student body. The first question I think you'll answer fairly easily, Rowan, even in these days. What, Rowan, is your gender identity?
Oh, crikey. It's 100 to choose from, but I'll opt for male, if that's okay. If there's just the two choices there, I'll go for male. If there's...
Indeed, there is a choice called male, if that's okay. Well, okay. No, I made that bit up. But now the next question, and this is where it gets rather interesting. Rowan, what is your gender expression? And to help you through this quiz, you have some options, and I want you to tick them. Are you mostly feminine? Right. Are you somewhat feminine? Are you equally feminine and masculine?
Right.
Are you somewhat masculine, Rowan? Or mostly masculine, or do you decline to state?
This is, well, I think this is fascinating. I think I'd sit there for hours, because what's the difference between mostly masculine or somewhat feminine? Is there any difference? I don't know. But or can you be a male but your gender expression is female? I mean, I guess anything goes. But what I think is fascinating is that this is this constant attempt to try and manufacture a new truth. And that new truth is that there is more than two biological genders, that there's 100 of them or whatever there might be. And so they're now tampering with it, that you can be a male or a female, but your expression, this is a new thing. We had gender identity, right. Now you've got gender expression. What on earth next? You know, is it the colour of your tie that will, you know, it reflects your gender? It's the bizarrest stuff. You're right, Andrew, that it's completely bonkers. But there is unfortunately a sinister side to it. And that sinister side is to really get this idea into the younger generation's head that there are not two genders, that there's multiple, and that you can move. But I thought you could move between them as well. So what if you fill in the form on day one that you're, what was it, partially female or whatever, but 3 weeks later you decide to change differently? I thought you could do that. Wasn't that the whole point? Do you have to re-enroll at the university and say, oh, I got that bit wrong?
Hair up,
well,
that's
it must be so
somewhat
difficult.
feminine. Hair down the next day, very feminine.
And who's to decide?
I shaved today, somewhat masculine. Beard, very. I mean,
but I thought women could have beards, so you could have a beard and still be a gender female expression.
No, but Rowan, you are right in suggesting this is very woke and up to date and blah 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 blah. It's about, you know, gender stuff, fluidity, and all that. But when you read it simply cold, it actually reads extremely old-fashioned.
Yes.
I mean, what on earth is somewhat masculine and mostly masculine? What stereotypes are they dragging up from the Victorian era to say this? I mean, you know, exactly what?
And aren't you sexist if you therefore say that, well, actually, the part of me that likes driving a huge truck down the road, that's my masculine side. Well, hang on, you're being sexist, because women are allowed to drive trucks in mines these days. So how do you identify what is your gender expression? These people are lunatics. I feel so sorry for students at school.
I read books. I love reading books. So do I tick somewhat feminine?
I think that's your feminine side. Real blokes don't read. Come on, Andrew.
They don't read. They don't read.